Okay, so the knife we have now is called the Spyderco Sage 1, a $199 knife. Okay, so bought it off eBay. Tell you why later. Here it says Sage, and it's the box. Oh yeah, there was a note from the guy I bought it from. So some stuff. This guy said, "Thanks for your purchase. Knife is coated with Ren wax to prevent rust while in storage. Clean with Dawn and water or rubbing alcohol if desired. Enjoy." Okay, so cool. Yeah, so when this knife came to me, the guy who sold it to me said that it was coated in a wax. Okay, and honestly, I figure if he put a wax, there probably was a reason for it, and so I just left it, right? Okay, so since it's already open, this is more or less what it looks like with the blade out. This is what it looks like on the other side, and this is the liner lock that this particular knife has. And I guess closed looks like that, right? And looks like that. Okay, so I think I should explain why I got this knife, yeah? Because this is the first duplicate knife, yeah? We already had a Spyderco, the Para 3. So why did we end up getting another Spyderco? Okay, so the reason is I really liked the Para 3. And I really like Spyderco. And I also really liked the TRM Neutron 2. Well, I love this knife. But I liked Spyderco so much that I kind of wanted for me what was as close to a perfect Spyderco as I could get, okay? And so I wanted something like the Para 3, but I wanted a liner lock, yeah? So that's really what the Sage 1 fulfills for me. It is a combination of a knife that I like, Spyderco, but I don't really like the compression lock, with a locking system that I love, yeah? Like the TRM Neutron 2 has, okay? So I kind of started searching for this knife, and you know, I actually saw a whole bunch of YouTube videos about the Sage 5 and the Sage 6, and I had no clue what the Sage line was. So if you're like me, then you're gonna learn, because I'm gonna tell you, okay? So if you don't know what the Sages are, currently there are 6 Sages, yeah? There's a Sage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And what Spyderco decided to do was to pay tribute to 6 different locking systems and six different guys that are credited with those locking systems, okay? So those 6 guys are the Sages, yeah? Those are the wise gurus that are getting credit. So the oldest one, the first one they released, was the Sage 1, okay? And it just so happens that the Sage 1 is the one that I want, okay? So I'm going through Spyderco's catalog, and I'm looking specifically for a Spyderco that's in a liner lock, that's in a size that I want, that is in a shape that I want, that has a profile and silhouette that I like, and that has a grip that I want, okay? So there's a lot of boxes that I was trying to check. And to be honest, it was really, really hard to find the right combination, okay? So I'm on the Spyderco website, flipping through all their knives, and they have a lot of knives, and I'm just not finding it, okay? Just not finding it, because this knife is not in their catalog, because this is a discontinued knife that they only ran for a little while. And then somehow, you know, I don't even know how must have been a video I was watching where someone kind of explained the Sages. But I found out about this knife, okay? And I was like, oh, I wonder how much it costs, okay? I wonder if anyone's selling it. And sure enough, I was able to find one on eBay. And I picked it up for $1.99, and this is not counting the tax or the shipping. Okay, so that's kind of the story of how this knife came to be and why I wanted it. All right, before I do the rest of this stuff, I think I'll tell you what the Sages are. Okay, so the Sage 1 is a tribute to the liner lock system. The Sage 1 is a liner lock. Okay, and I might be wrong, guys. I'm just flying by the seat of my pants. I'm just making this up off the top of my head. Okay, but I think, okay, the Sage 2 is a frame lock. Okay, so Sage 2 has a lock like this. Yeah, and it's titanium as well. So that's kind of weird and rare Spyderco if you think about it. Yeah, titanium liner lock, kind of crazy. Okay, titanium liner lock, Spyderco. The Sage 3 is a back lock, okay, like this. Okay, I guess probably more like this. Okay, back lock. So it's a tribute to the back lock. The Sage 4 is like a axis lock or a crossbar lock. Okay, so like this guy. Yeah. Okay, maybe more this way. Okay, so that's the Sage 4. The Sage 5, I think, is a Sage that's made with Spyderco's signature lock, which is a compression lock. Okay, and then finally, could be wrong, that's what I think, the Sage 6 is also a compression lock, but that's activated by a button. Okay, so I think they call it a top liner lock, okay, or sometimes a button compression lock. Okay, so it's kind of like this one. Okay, and from the videos I've been watching, you know, I honestly never really heard much of the Sage 3. I don't know if it was very popular because I don't know how popular a backlock is. I'll talk more about that in another video. Okay, I actually like backlocks a lot. And I haven't heard much of the Sage 4. Okay, maybe because it's getting kind of old at this point, the axis lock one. But a lot of videos in recent times have been talking about the Sage 5 and the Sage 6. And some people have mentioned that they're top knives, that they're like their favorite knives, that they've been carrying them a lot, stuff like that. Okay, and you know, I didn't go with the Sage 1, guys, just because I was trying to be different, because I was trying to be counter-current. Okay, it's literally the one that I wanted. Okay, really the only two that really piqued my interest was the one I wanted, which is the Spyderco Sage 1 and the Sage 2, yeah, the titanium frame lock one. And honestly, if I had to guess, I think the Sage 2 is probably the most coveted and desirable one. Okay, and that's just basing it off of eBay. When I went on eBay, there was only one Sage 2 being sold, and it was being sold for a lot. Okay, and that tells me that the people who have it probably like it and are holding on to it. And when someone does decide to get rid of it, they know they're getting rid of something that's hard to find, and so there's going to be a price premium. Okay, so in terms of like collectability and status symbol, I think the Sage 2 is one that people want. Okay, but I wanted the Sage 1. Okay, and they were available, so I was able to get one. And boy, you know, I'm very, very, very glad I did. Okay, okay, so let's go into the rating. First of all, we got the sound. Okay, so it has a very good sound. Okay, very much related to the materials and the deployment. This is one of the fastest deploying knives I have because it has one of the strongest detents. Okay, and strong detent, you know, it holds the blade in almost like a slingshot. Yeah, and when it does release, because there was that resistance, it releases harder and it releases faster. Okay, The sound on this knife is a 7, okay? Noticeably higher than the Para 3 was, okay? So the Para 3, when I rated it, it was a 5, okay? Probably because the scales were just more thuddy, okay? So why is this a 7? Okay, so what is 7? It ain't junk. It's not kind of junk. It's better than good, okay, but it's not perfect or almost perfect. Okay, really, it's the materials, guys. Okay, hard to make a really good sound when it's not metal. Okay, there's always gonna be almost a kind of clacky, plasticky sound, even if it doesn't involve plastic. Okay, which this one has G10 on the inside. And if I'm honest, I haven't done my research. I have no clue what G10 is, guys. Okay. Okay. So the sound, yeah, it's better than good. It's good. Okay. Okay. Let's go to deployment. Already talked a little bit about it. Okay. So this knife, guys, I'm just gonna tell you straight up. Yeah, I can get it out with the thumb hole like that. Okay. I can pinch it and roll it out with my pointer like that. Okay. But in deployment, I'm almost always talking about the flick deployment, yeah? Of course, I can also two-hand it like this, okay? And earlier I said, if I'm honest, and I never did finish the sentence, if I'm honest, I cannot thumb this one, okay? Even if I choke up good and get in a good position, okay, well, usually I cannot do that. Yeah, usually that's the result, guys, okay? It's just too stiff, okay? Which is kind of a good thing, okay? So yeah, but the deployment is good, okay? It's better than good. It's better than good. It's almost perfect, okay? Very good deployment. If I'm just gonna stick with the middle finger flick, okay? The lock release. Well, guys, the lock release was the whole point, yeah? The lock release, the liner lock release was the whole point of getting this knife, okay? So I love it, okay? It is so darn close to perfect. I'm just gonna write it already. It's a 9, okay? And it could have been perfect, but I don't fault Spyderco for not making it perfect, because I can see what they were doing, yeah? They're those guys, they're into function, okay? They want tough knives. So this liner lock is a 9 because it has a lot of resistance, okay? It's not too firm, okay? You don't need to be the world's strongest man to get this lock to work, okay? But it is definitely not gonna fail, and it is very strong, okay? So it's on the stiff side, and because of that, like, I don't think they had to make it this good or this strong, yeah? However they decided to treat that metal and bend that steel, okay? But I don't fault them for doing it, okay? So it's a 9 because I think would have been a little bit better if it was a little bit less resistancy, yeah. Okay, closure, okay. So the closure of this knife suffers, yeah, because of that super stiff liner lock, okay? So when I try to do the final hand guide, okay, it doesn't feel like the super perfectly finely tuned machine that this thing is, okay? So the closure is, I think, well, aside from pocket clip, it is this guy's weakest attribute, okay? It is a 5, okay? So what is a 5? It's not quite good, okay? It's between kind of junk and good. Okay, then let's go to my system, my deliberate. 1, open, deliberate. 2, break the lock, deliberate. 3, guide it close, okay? Liner locks in general tend to be very good at that, okay? And that's why I like liner locks, okay? So this guy, in terms of the 3-step system, is a 9. And you might be thinking, brah, how is that even possible? You said it's an 8, 9, 5, and then when you combine these 3 things, it comes out to a 9. Yeah, I agree. It makes no sense, okay? But this, guys, is not the same as these three, okay? These are like mechanical evaluations, okay? They really are, okay? And this is different, okay? It's almost like a psychological sensation, okay? It's more of a feeling and a preference. That one is, okay? And so clearly I care more about the deployment and the release, and I'm not hurting it too much for the closure when I come up with a 9 that makes no sense. All right, the feel, right? So, yep, cannot really talk about it without this one. I think anybody, even a blind bat, could see that these are very similar in terms of how they're gonna feel when you hold them in your hand and when you grab the handle, okay? And that was like honestly one of the reasons to get this guy, okay? They both have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, okay? 3 of those nice cutouts, and they both have a belly right over here, okay? Right over there. And unless you have like good eye and great attention to detail, really the only difference is in this corner. Yeah, they did something different in this corner, okay? Yeah, that is not something that I even really pay much attention to, the difference. I don't even know which one I like more when it comes to that corner, okay? The feel is great. Like how great? 9 great, okay? Shucks, I should make my things bigger because they look like 7s, but that's okay, okay? The feel is wonderful. Yeah, just like the Para 3 has jimping here and jimping here, jimping here, jimping here, and it feels so good. It feels so good. I think I should also mention that this guy feels different, better than this guy. Yeah, this guy is running custom carbon fiber scales. This guy is running the stock carbon fiber over G10 scales. Okay. And it has a great feel, okay? In fact, it has some of the best feel I've felt for carbon fiber, okay? Carbon fiber usually has this like dry feel, almost powdery sometimes. This one, it's better, okay? Okay, so that's where I am in feel. And then let's go to looks, okay? So the looks, all right. Oh, this is like a comparison one I'm doing here, okay? But the looks that I gave this one was an 8, okay? This one, I'm talking about this one. I gave this guy an 8, okay? This guy gets a 7, all right? And I think for most people, it would be the opposite. I really sincerely do, okay? So my reasoning is, okay, that I simply prefer for a Spyderco to look like a Spyderco and have a signature dead pelican shape than for it to look nice, because I want my Spyderco to look like a Spyderco. I guess I'll talk a little bit about that since we're on looks, yeah? So a lot of people really like this knife because it has this like leaf-shaped blade, and a lot of them, I've heard them say it looks like a shaman, okay? Again, I don't know if it's shaman or shaman, okay? One day I probably should look it up. But what they don't realize is this is better, well, in my opinion, and it does look like it from here to here, but not right here, okay? So this is way more similar to the Para 3 in this spot, than it is to the shaman, okay? Because the shaman goes straight from the back of the handle, and the spine is a continuation of that, right? It doesn't have this spot or this curve, okay? And I really like that, okay? I really like that. In terms of looks, I'll also talk about, since I kind of didn't mention it in feel, these scales. So these are the stock scales that come with it, okay? And I've heard Metal Complex say that it bugs him that Spyderco puts carbon fiber over G10, okay? And I'm too ignorant to know if it bothers me, But I'll tell you my perspective. My perspective is Spyderco is probably a deliberate company, at least I think. So if they're doing something, maybe they have a reason for doing it, and I figure they probably do have a reason. Maybe they don't. Okay. But yeah, to me, not a deal breaker, not a big deal. Okay, I don't really care that they're putting a material on top of another material, because I don't know why they're doing it. Okay, and maybe they have a reason. Okay, so that's the looks. Okay, the pocket clip, guys. Holy moly. Okay, I'm surprised I'm even gonna give it the score I'm giving it. Okay, I'm gonna give it a 4, which is kind of junk. Which to me is kind of a high rating for this pocket clip. Okay, there are some pretty sorry things about this pocket clip. Okay, let me even tell you my considerations when I talk about pocket clips. Okay, talk about function, practicality. I talk about tear pants and secureness, durability, strength, quality, style. And I care the least about style. I care the most about function and practicality. I guess that's probably why it gets a 4, because in some ways I don't even feel like it deserves a 4. Okay, it is kind of small kind. Oh, sorry guys, that's the pigeon coming out. But anyway, it is a little bit deep carry. Okay, which is kind of a good thing. It is secure, it is durable, it is strong. Okay, and I'm sure that the metal they chose and whatever treatment they did to the metal was a deliberate engineered choice. Okay. That said, this thing will shred your pants, guys. This is a pants terror. Okay. Terror. Yeah. Terror and terror. Tearer. Okay. It is both. It's a terror and a terror. Yeah, so that's also why it gets the low docking. Okay, so there's some positives, some negatives. It does the job. It functions. Okay, but the other thing, guys, is this is the hottest of hottest pocket clips. Okay, especially because it has this 90-degree right angle right here. So this thing fires so well, but when I put it in position for a middle finger flick, okay, the corner of the closer wire of the pocket clip, it digs so hard into this part of my palm. Okay, so it just digs. Okay, and so that's another reason why this pocket clip, not the bee's knees. Okay, anyway, let's go move on to fizz. So the fizziness, does it give me the fizz? Yes, of course. Okay, I was very, very particular, and I looked really, really hard to find this model of knife. Okay, it is very close to a dream for me. Okay, it's like so close to exactly what I would want. So it gives me a level 7 of fizz. Okay. What is that on this? Yeah, not quite almost perfect, but better than good. Okay. Yeah, bringing this guy back out. I don't think this knife exists, yeah, guys. But the perfect one to me would be, what would it be? 3 things. 3 things. If we change 3 things about this knife, it could be the perfect knife. Okay? Not just the perfect Spyderco, because I already like that brand. It's the perfect knife. Okay? Number 1, let's just go with the signature blade. Okay? Let's go with that one. Number 1. If this knife had this blade instead, I think that would make it better. Number 2, I love contoured scales. Okay, that is one of the greatest things in the world that is almost hardly never done. Okay, contoured scales like this guy. Okay, rounded. Okay, if there was a version with rounded scales, okay, or if someone slapped on aftermarket rounded scales, contoured, great. Okay, and then the third thing is, like I mentioned, love the liner lock, but it's a little overkill. It's a little more stiff than it needs to be. Okay, I think if we did those 3 things, it would be like level 10 levels of fizz, maybe higher. And then the joy. Okay, this brings me extremely high levels of joy. After my neutron, it brings me the second highest level of joy. Okay, it brings me an almost perfect level of joy. Because I mean, I've said it a million times, but it's just a combination of many things that are exactly what I want. Okay, okay. So with that, let's go put the overall perception. Okay, and boy, I probably should stop explaining this at some point, but it's just without factoring in any numbers. Okay, independent of other scores. Okay, not factoring in other numbers in. Okay, it's like if I rated this knife without going through all of this other stuff. Okay, overall perception is that it's my second best knife. Okay, that it's a 9. Okay, that it is darn near perfect. But you know what? Not too many things can be perfect, and it's okay to not be perfect. Okay, so that's that. And then the mathematical formula I use with a couple of weighted scores for this is, again, second highest rated knife, 7.8. Okay, so it scores high in both overall things, and it is a wonderful knife that is very much something I was looking for, and something I very much wanted to have. Okay, I try to not have too much redundancy in the collection, but I was totally okay with doing it in this case. Okay, finally, as a summary, I just gonna try to reiterate or maybe mention, yeah, some of my favorite features, and some of my not so favorite features from this knife. Okay, so I like, yeah, that it still has the para three spots to grab. I really like that. Okay, some people would like that it has the leaf shaped blade. Okay, I mean, I'm fine with that. I guess it's kind of cool. Variety is the spice of life, so it does check another box and give me a little bit more variety. Okay, of course I love that it's a liner, and go check, guys. Yeah, go through the Spyderco catalog. A liner is not too easy to find. Okay, it's not exactly the most common thing in the world when we're talking about that company. Which brings me to my next point. Yeah, features that maybe are some of my favorites. Like, I actually don't think that this is a collector's item, guys. I don't think this is the rarest thing in the world. I don't think it's gonna be valuable or gonna go up in price or anything like that. But in my brain, I like to pretend that, at least to me, this is kind of a collector's item. Yeah, because it's not currently available. You're never gonna find one that comes straight from them unless they re-release all 6 shamans. I don't know how to say that. Yeah, and so the fact that I had to kind of look for it, and then I found it, that's something I like. Yeah, okay. Removes joy, features that aren't necessarily a favorite. I've said some critical things, but the only one that really stands out is this pocket clip. Okay, and again, it's probably something that can be changed in the aftermarket. It is definitely something that could just completely be removed and done away with. Yeah, it's removable. Yeah, so perhaps, yeah, I'm making a lot about nothing. Okay, but yeah, so this is the Spyderco Sage 1, and it is a knife that I'm very fond of.